So Mahendra, thanks for joining us today at ADAPT's Data Edge here in Sydney. And when you think about the theme of building a data-driven organisation there at the Red Cross, what does that entail?
I think the data is one of the main asset for future. A lot of emerging technologies coming like AI, Internet of Things, and customer experience need to leverage with the data to better customer experience and driving some of the social justice projects. So because of that, Red Cross identified the value of the data, not only the data but also the people, culture, and the skills need to leverage that data into more sustainable future.
And when you think about social justice and particularly some of the case studies, the use cases you've worked on, developing AI systems that are designed in an ethical and proper way, what are some of the things that have worked?
Yeah, so when it comes to AI and data, there are few industry frameworks that we can focus related to social justice. That one of the most popular one is United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. In there are 17 sustainable development goals that everyone need to address, and it is the 2030 agenda of the United Nations. It covers a lot of aspects like social, economic, planet, environment, to establishing a more sustainable future. Red Cross also addressing certain aspects related to humanitarian engagement, support, and reducing and mitigating risks related to humanity with these emerging technologies, particularly related to bias and some of the risks like autonomous weapons. So Red Cross is world largest humanitarian organization, and also we are the guardians of the international humanitarian law by Geneva Convention. So Red Cross has a big responsibility when giving some of the insights to the decision makers. That means how to orchestrate this technology and values.
And so when you're thinking about how to orchestrate and deliver on those values, as I understand it, when you think about unified governance, you have what I think is described as the KITE model for driving these kinds of changes. Can you tell the ADAPT community a little bit about what's involved in that model? What are the challenges in implementation and how you're driving further progress?
Sure. So when Red Cross were looking to the emerging technologies, particularly AI and the data, informed decision making and data related technologies, what we realize is like there are fundamentally three key questions need to ask by every leader. The first is why, what, and how, right? So any organization try to solve this problem need to address those three questions in different layers. Like for example, when it comes to organization governance, corporate governance, they particularly want to have interest on why questions. So that's that why question is very important to forming strategy, mitigating risks and establishing their risk appetites, and all these things are addressing those why questions. Then the next level is that this is actually part of the golden circle model, the what question. So when it comes to senior leaders, then they think of okay, how organization should address this social justice project through the data. and then it come into eventually how question, where the engineers and data scientists working together to resolve certain problems. Now, in every aspects of these three questions, there is a people, technology, processes, and teams involving, and organization need to orchestrate this to create a better solution. That my kite and wind turbine model, which we presented into United Nations and also some of the conferences, what we try to address was, that means how leaders can orchestrate people, culture and mission in an organization more efficiently to drive these data-driven technologies and drive them more ethically in a sustainable way. So if we look into the kite abstraction model, it's an abstraction model. Why we call it abstraction? Because we identified AI is actually a complex when it comes to application level, but the complexity can be reduced through an abstraction layer, and kite abstraction model look into AI, organization, society and sustainability, where that governance, leaders who focused on governance can easily understand their vision, mission and strategies, and then they can adapt the strength of AI and relevant sustainable development goals into their organization.
And I guess when we think about connecting the strategic brains with the operational arms in a way, when we're thinking about how we connect AI for good with sustainability, organisation with society as well, we're thinking really about that purpose-driven organisation that does the right things for the right reasons, measuring in the right way and driving practical progress. And as part of driving this progress, what are some of the partnership principles that have helped you to deliver those outcomes?
Yeah, so that's a good question, because Red Cross in their strategy 2030, they promote that we need to work as a distributed network. That's a very important thing. When we going into United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, the 17th Sustainable Development Goal saying, the last Sustainable Development Goal, saying that all the 16th, other 16 Sustainable Development Goals should be achieved with the partnership. So because of that, partnership collaboration is very important. Now, if we go deep dive into that perspective, like partnerships, you can identify it help to mitigating biases in AI and data through diversity, equity, inclusion. Now, partnership collaboration enhance the diversity, equity, inclusion perspectives of these solutions. Because of that, any organization should be self-aware. That means that they should have the emotional intelligence and be self-aware what are the biases they have and what kind of partnerships, collaborations they should engage with in the people's perspective, cultural or technology perspective. Then that they can decide at that point, like we can't decide that like in advance, but that is the right right thought process, mindset that leaders should have.
Using that critical process to design out bias and fairness included by design. And really what we're saying there is we're using emotional intelligence as the way that technical competency hits the road, the rubber hits the road, if you like. And I guess if you were to leave one final thought with the ADAPT community, what would it be?
I think that AI is a very important perspective in any organization. In corporate perspective, it's one of the key strategy in customer experience, and also in Red Cross perspective, we believe that one of the key capability that driving the future humanitarian operations, and we need to focus ethics and right governance practices from the beginning to mitigate the related risks. that bias is one of the key issue that which failed the AI projects. Like it says, like 85% of the AI projects fail due to biases, and we don't want to that to happen. And we want to mitigate the AI risks through these great partnerships, collaborations, and we want to enhance cultural values through the AI. And we believe human ethics is the core component which orchestrate the AI capabilities in the future. In that way, we can build more sustainable future.